We have a second segment that we're about to move into. It is a subject that also has become far too pervasive. It has to do with texting on phones. It is, in the common vernacular, referred to as sexting. And we are first going to go to talk about this practice. For those of you who are unfamiliar with what sexting is, it is a practice by some teens who share suggestive, revealing, or explicitly nude photos through social medias. Unfortunately, these photos often have a way of traveling beyond the intended recipient. Sharing or even possessing such photos, if the person depicted is underage, can lead to child pornography charges. That kind of conviction can label someone a sex offender and require registration as an offender for their lifetime. The question I will pose to our panels is, how much of a problem is this, and how do we deal with it? We're going to begin this time in Elko. We will then travel to Reno and then back to Las Vegas. Judge Puccinelli.
Thank you, Justice Seda. It is becoming pervasive in Elko County. It is really kind of bad. And I wanted Christy Stake to talk about it. She sees it a lot in terms of supervising juveniles who are on probation. I will then have Judge Simons talk about, Courtmaster Simons talk about what can happen to kids who do this. And we've kind of developed a protocol, a program here when we catch kids for the first time doing it, what we do. And I'll have Chief Pedersen talk about that. And at least I think we've convinced the District Attorney's Office to deal with this in a certain way on a first-time offense. But I would tell students around the state, anyone who wants to listen, that if you have an aggressive prosecutor who wants to charge this and to certify kids up, it's happening all over the country. And as Judge Voice said, you're facing life sentences. It's life. And you are facing being adjudicated as a sexual offender, and you're under lifetime supervision as a sexual offender. Lifetime is a long time to be under supervision. In any event, I'm going to have Ms. Stake talk about this. And I understand her mother is watching this via the internet, so you're on, Christy. Make Mom proud.
Thanks, Judge. As a juvenile probation officer, we look at cell phones all the time to make sure our juveniles aren't doing anything or saying anything on their texting that they're not supposed to. And I can tell you I have seen many cell phones with very inappropriate pictures on them that are obvious that have been sent out to other people. What the teenagers need to realize is just because you send a picture to your boyfriend or girlfriend does not mean that once you break up, that picture is not going to be broadcast to everybody in the high school. And that has happened, and there is history of that happening. It's dangerous, and it can't be taken away. It can't be taken back. And I think that the juveniles just really need to, when they're sending these pictures out, they think it's just to that one boyfriend, it's just to that one girlfriend, and that's not always the case. Just hit that forward button on your cell phone, and it goes to everybody else in the school if it wants to.
Judge Simons.
I think many times when we have youth that are engaging in this type of behavior, it's perceived by those who are participating in it to be a very innocent type of behavior. And it may be taking place between a boyfriend-girlfriend situation and the like. However, Christy Stake touched on this, that oftentimes when that first love goes south, that those pictures are disseminated to other people, and before we know it, most of the cell phones in the high school have had that picture received on their cell phone. So it's important that the youth understand the very serious both juvenile and potential criminal ramifications of this type of behavior. In the event that we have an aggressive prosecutor, these are types of offenses. This is a production of child pornography or this distribution of child pornography that have very serious criminal prosecution potential. So if a person were a prosecutor, for example, were desirous to have that certified up and that person prosecuted as an adult, these are potential life sentences that could be doled out. So the serious nature of this can't be overstated, and so that's important for the youth to realize.
As a programming point, Christy had mentioned that we do check their phones. It's amazing how many kids have phones these days. When I go into the elementary school, I'll ask third graders, how many of you have phones? And there's more kids that have them that don't. And so they're starting to practice using this technology. And the kids that are on probation, they know through their probation officer's actions that they're going to be randomly checked and can face those serious consequences that she mentioned. But I think kids sometimes will also learn, or smart kids will learn from their own experiences. Smarter kids will learn from somebody else's experiences. So when they see somebody else getting hammered for something they didn't think was wrong, it sends a message.
Jennifer?
At the DA's office, the cases that we see, which we see quite a few actually, when we read the reports, it's obvious that these kids have no idea that their photos that they've sent to their boyfriend or whatever was spread around to quite a few people. So I think that, again, education is extremely important for the kids and their parents in regards to what's appropriate, what's not, and what can be prosecuted. At our office, we would like to see more specific laws that address sexting. We've been in contact with other states who have passed laws that address the issue. For example, in Utah, they have specific statutes that address sexting and individuals that are under certain ages and what their punishments will be. And also, if it's a first offense, there's a certain punishment for that. If it's a second or third, there's more aggressive punishment. So we would like to see more statutes that address this.
I think there's questions, Justice Seda, that want, and I think Reno wants to field one of them. At least that's what I'm seeing here on the...
Reno, go ahead if you want to take that question that got tossed from Twitter.
Yes, we did get a question, Justice Seda, and that was, can you be prosecuted for having a picture of someone claiming to be older than they are when they're really a minor? And so I've asked Ms. Wicks from the DA's office to answer that question for us today.
Thank you. I think this is a very dangerous area because truthfully in the cases that my office has reviewed, there's no indication in my mind that the person who's participating in taking these kinds of pictures or distributing them asks anything about the age of the person depicted in those pictures. Truthfully, most of the time, the evidence is clear that they know each other, and they certainly have some very strong indications of the age of that person. I don't believe that you could rely on a defense that this person told me they were 19 years old, or I thought this person was 17 years old, in trying to protect yourself against a possible charge that you might have been charged with regarding the distribution or possession of visual representations of someone performing a sexual act. So it's one of those areas where everyone needs to be extremely careful. I think sometimes juveniles and teenagers especially will say, well, I didn't know how old they were, or I thought it was okay, or what's the harm? We're both teenagers, without really understanding how serious the implications can be.
Anyone else on my panel want to add to that? Okay, thank you.